Hey everyone, welcome back. For today's video, I'm going to be making some My Chemical Romance, the Black Parade themed nails. I started off by prepping my nails, buffing the surface, cleaning them, applying base coat, letting the base coat cure, and now I'm going in with my base color. I'm going to be using black and white only for this nail set. I'm also going to be hand painting very simple designs. I'll be using some charms and some nail decals. For the nails that I will be using decals on, I'm just applying one layer of color, and all of the other nails I do apply 2 layers of color. For the nails with decals, I like to use a nail foil glue, and I'll show you that later on. I like to use a nail foil glue to stick them on more securely. But for now, I'm just working on the second coat, letting that cure, and that is the nail foil glue that I'm using by Melody Susie. I love this nail foil glue. It's very, very sticky. I just apply a layer to the nail, and honestly, I leave it in for 60 seconds, but 30 seconds is fine with that nail glue as well. But I did apply some to the nail that I'm going to add the decal to, and then I'm just going in with my second coat of color on the other nails. I've used decals plenty of times on my channel. I'm not going to go into super detail, but they're really easy to use. I make these myself. I'm going to be using this design, but I want to see which size I want to use. So I just held the nail up against the first decal, and that one was the perfect size, so I'm going to use that. I just cut out the border, all of like the excess paper, and then I dip the decal in water. I'm doing that off camera here. After I take it out of water, I'm going to pat it dry with a paper towel. I want to get out all of that excess water before I apply it to my nail. Then I'm going to slide the decal right off the backing of that paper. And if there's any excess water, I'll pat it dry a little bit more paper towel. But this one was fine, so I just stuck it right on the nail. And it sticks perfect. I just press along the sides, make sure everything is flat. Take my nail file off all of the excess from the bottom. I usually brush off the dust with a fluffy brush, and then I'm just wiping off the surface. So this nail is pretty much done. I'm going in with Builder Gel in a bottle and applying a layer of that. I like to do this with all of my press-ons. It makes the nail more sturdy, so it's less flimsy and won't bend or break easily. Also, when I apply decals to nails, I like to apply another layer of polish on top of the decal before I apply the top coat. That way the top coat has something to stick to. So I let that layer of Builder Gel cure, and then I'm going in with my top coat, making sure I get around the edges so my decal does not lift. And then I let that cure, and that nail is done. Moving on to the next nail. This one is a white nail. I applied 2 coats like I mentioned before. Any nails I don't have decal, I apply 2 coats of polish. And I'm going in with some black powder, and I just applied a layer of that nail foil glue. I wanted to apply more of that black powder, so I wanted the surface to be a little more sticky. So I applied a layer of that nail foil glue, cured it, applied a little more powder, and now I'm going in with my Builder Gel. I'm going to let that cure and then apply my top coat. I am going to add 2 piercings to this nail. So after I apply my top coat, I'm going to drill 2 holes and apply the piercings. Personally, when I do these types of nails, I like to apply my top coat first, then drill the holes, then put the piercings through, as opposed to applying the top coat after I put the piercings in and then top coat gets on them. So I apply my top coat, drill the holes, apply the piercings. I put the piercings in using a plier, so I use the pliers to open up the little loops and then apply them in the holes I drilled and then close them back up using those same pliers. This next nail I'm going to be writing MCR on, And the letters I'm making so it looks a little ragged. So the MCR is not going to be written super neat. I'm using some white gel polish, and then I just apply little white lines randomly throughout the rest of the nail. I'm applying my builder gel, letting that cure, then applying a top coat, and then this nail is done. So the next nail is really simple. I have one of the white nails, and I'm applying a silver chain along the entire perimeter of the nail. I just right here, I'm kind of like getting an idea of how long it's going to be. I did apply some glue already so that one side is setting, and then I am setting the other side. So I have this little lamp here. This lamp is what I use to flash cure charms. And then I'm going to cut off the excess chain and then apply that nail into my big lamp to make sure that it's fully cured. After it's fully cured, I go over the entire nail, including the silver chain, with a top coat. And this nail is pretty much done. So for the next nail, I used black as my base color, and I'm going to be using white for the design. I just made basically a letter T going down the center, and I'm making these lines going across on each side. And the inspo behind this design were their jackets that they had on in a Black Parade video. So I'm making these lines going across. I think I applied 2 coats of that white. I'm making sure the lines match up and everything is even and the same thickness. After I let that cure, I did apply some builder gel, and I'm going in with these little silver studs on each line. After I applied all of the studs, I let that fully cure, and then I go over the entire nail with a top coat. I would say 80 to 90% of the time when I apply charms to nails, I am applying a top coat on top of the charms. It just helps secure the charm even more. And in certain charms, like especially these silver studs, they can easily tarnish, like the color will come off or get scratched up. So I apply a top coat over the entire nail. So the next nail is another black nail, and I'm applying some silver chain going across. I'm going to be applying 4 pieces of chain, and here I'm just cutting them up. Then I'm going to take some builder gel, apply it to the nail, and stick the chain onto it until it's to my liking. I like to flash cure this. That way it stays in place, and then I will put it in my lamp to fully cure. So after I applied all of the chains and allowed it to cure my lamp fully, I'm going in with a top coat, again applying top coat to the entire nail, especially with nails like this where I have chain and I have like gaps between it. I make sure I take my top coat and get in between all of those crevices. I don't want any uncured polish in between any of it. For this next nail, I'm using a white one, and I'm applying that nail for you glue to make the surface really sticky. I like how the powder sticks better when the surface is a little bit more sticky. It comes out more darker. Also, depending on the brush I use. When I use this fluffy brush, it will come out lighter, but definitely like to use a nail foil glue when applying powder because it makes the surface more sticky again, and the powder will come out more pigmented. Also, using like one of the flat brushes as opposed to a fluffy brush definitely deepens the color as well. But I applied that powder along the perimeter of the nail, and now I'm going in with my builder gel, and then I'm going to apply some of those silver studs along the perimeter of the entire nail. After I applied all of those silver studs, I did let it cure and I didn't film it, but I applied also a silver skull in the center and then I let that fully cure. Now I'm going in with my top coat, making sure I get every little crevice and all along the sides of the nail, and that nail is done. For this next nail, I am going to be using a decal. I did apply a layer of nail foil glue already to create that sticky surface. I applied some powder and then I cut up this decal. It says the Black Parade. I just made it so that it's not one long decal. It's 3 little pieces and then I just put it along that nail. I will take a little bit more powder and just apply it randomly throughout that nail. And I'm going to apply my layer of builder gel right after this. Let that cure and then apply my top coat. And then that nail is done as well. For this next nail, I'm going to be using a decal again. I already have my layer of nail foil glue fully cured, so the nail surface is sticky. Have my decal ready to go. Just applied it to the nail, filing off all of the excess and going in with my builder gel again to apply that layer of builder gel, let it cure. I did go back in with some black powder just along the areas where there's white showing. And after that, apply my top coat, and that's all for this nail. We are down to the last and final nail. This last nail is fairly easy. As you can see, I already have 3 of those little charms on there already, and I applied the 4th one. Let that cure, going in with my top coat, getting in between all of the little areas underneath to make sure that I have the entire nail fully covered, and that is all. Here's the final set.